I wanted to escape my life. I was living to die. And by the time I was 20, I was selling my body and smoking a crack pipe because I was living in survival. It took me a long time. But in 2019, I came to realize that the woman I worked for was a sex trafficker. When I started working with a therapist that actually understood trauma, that's when my healing really started to occur. And that was the start of her resiliency center. Her was a calling that I needed to go help other women who have similar experiences as my own to avoid falling through the cracks, to help those that are in crisis get on the track and the path that they want to be on. I had no clue it would be embraced and that it would grow and we would help so many women. Her taught me so much through working with the young women we serve. I learned more about myself and I learned more therapeutic modalities and access to them and wanting to heal the trauma from my childhood. As a kid living with my father, he'd beat me every day. He would say, "No one's coming for you." And no one was coming for me. At 10, I started trying to kill myself because the abuse was so bad. In middle school, I started having sex and carried on suicidal ideations. In high school, I was popping pills and dropping acid and suicidal and high risk in every regard. At 20 years old, I bought a one-way plane ticket to Washington, D.C. And my parents told me never to call them again. I took it to heart. I was not going to ask for their help. And then one day I went to the bank and I had no money. I was overdrawn to the limit where you can't get any more. And when I got home, I went to the downstairs neighbor's house and I was sobbing and crying. And she said, "I have an idea." And we sat down with the phone book and we flipped to the back of the pages. And there was a phone number to call. It was Pamela Martin and Associates, later known as the DC Madam. And then I went to work. The first call was like in and out in like 10 minutes maybe. I gave him a blowjob, I got my money, and I walked out. And I thought, I can do this. But the second call, he used his whole time. As we were having sex, I was like, I don't know if I can do this. The first night was only 2 calls. Later on, it would be 3 calls each night. But I would go to the bar afterwards with my money. The thing with fast cash is it doesn't last. And I would go drink, and I felt the sense of control and power because I had my own money. I could buy my clothes. I could pay my bills. But I drank it and smoked it. That's what I did with my money. My last night drinking wasn't anything special or different. I was at the bar. I was next to this old man who was a regular and figured I was going to end up going home with him as we drank. And I put my hand in my purse, the number to Alcoholics Anonymous fell out. And it was a God moment. It was a moment where when I woke up that morning, the first thing I did was that I called that number on that sticky note. They told me where a meeting was at 6 o'clock. And I went. Hi, everyone. I'm Natasha, alcoholic. And I felt relief. My 12-step recovery helped me a lot. It helped me grow. And when I got sober, it was for the first time my entire life people were nice to me. And no one wanted anything from me but healing. I think I was about 13 years sober when I decided to start her. And it was definitely a calling for me. It was something that I didn't want other women who had similar experiences as mine to have to endure them without help or an exit ramp to a different life.
Natasha gave me my life back. She guided me, mentored me, and now I'm walking in a path that I never imagined.
We now have the opportunity to help other women, to be that outreach, to be that hand, to offer the unconditional support. Healing is a lifelong journey. I just realized that the only way out is through.